Hey everybody, it's Disney here. Welcome back to another Apex Legends video. In this video, we're going to be doing the comparison between two of the best recon legends in Apex Legends, which is Seer versus Bloodhound. This is going to be part one of a possibly multi-part series because I know Seer is getting some changes next week. So once those changes come in, we'll do another part to this video, test out Seer, and then really get into who is the better recon legend. Before we get into the video, I want to know who you guys prefer. Do you prefer Bloodhound or do you prefer Seer? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you like Apex or you like Bloodhound or you like Seer or you like me as a person, make sure to smash that thumbs up button. And also be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content. But anyway, I don't want to go too much on a tangent. Let the battle between Seer and Bloodhound begin. Alright everybody, we're going to be starting off with the passives and beginning with Seer's passive, which is the heartbeat sensor. Seer's heartbeat, in a sense, reveals enemies within a 75-meter radius. It's not 100% reveal, but it really lets you know the general direction as to which they're up, down, left, center. So it gives you guys a lot of information. The bigger the arrow is, the closer they are, the further away the arrow is, and if it's not yellow, that means they're at quite a bit of distance. So it's really good at spotting campers or spotting people from a distance behind through walls. You can really give your team a lot of information with this. I've been in plenty of situations where in ranked especially, I've heartbeated just to heartbeat, and then I see my arrow thinking nobody's around, and I'm like, wow, let's go over there, and it's people camping in a corner or people that don't expect to push because the heartbeat is silent. It gives no warning as to when you're being heartbeated. So it's a pretty crazy passive ability that it has. But I will say it can be overwhelming if there is more than one squad. There will be tons of arrows and the circle reticle will be yellow for like a long time, so you won't be able to really pinpoint exactly where they are if there's too many people on the screen. So that's one negative thing about his passive. But with his passive really gives you the opportunity to then use his tactical. We're going to get into the tactical parts later, but with his passive, it'll really help you plan your attack or your defense, knowing how many people are in that general vicinity, whether to fight or not to fight, or whether to see if you can engage in that fight. His passive alone gives out a lot of information in so many different ways, offensively or defensively, and it just really intertwines with the rest of his kit, as we'll get into later. Moving on to Bloodhound's passive, which is the tracking ability. Bloodhound, when he scans or within a certain time frame, he's able to see the footsteps or the healing or the deaths or the fights, recent boxes that have been opened. He's able to see all of that within a certain time frame. So he's really good at tracking enemies and the direction that they may have been and are going. So in a way, this also works like the heartbeat sensor, but it's more directional in a sense because you're actually following a trail, whereas Seer, you know where they are in a general vicinity. So they both work in different ways. Seer's just works a little bit faster than Bloodhound's, but Bloodhound also gives you a lot of information as to how much health they probably have, if they're healing, if they were damaged, what guns did they fight with, what guns did they kill with, all those things that they can see when they're scanning or within a certain duration of time. So the passive is very flexible and how you can use it, how far you can use it, how much information you can get. Like I said, they're both really good passives. I would kind of prefer Seer's more in this meta now just because the information is faster, but again, Bloodhound's passive is also really good. You just have to be a little bit more patient with it and track your opponents and see where exactly they're going or where they were. One negative thing about Bloodhound's passive is that the icons that are there can be a little bit annoying if there's a lot of them, especially if you scan. When you use your tactical, it can scan all of those things that you've missed in a general vicinity, so it might be a little bit overwhelming if there's too many things on the screen, but it's not as crazy as I'm making it sound. Both passives are really good, but for this round of passives, I might have to give it to Seer just because it is a little bit crazy what he can do with his heartbeat and find enemies that are hidden at all times, whereas Bloodhound can't see trackers all of the time. So that's why I'm gonna give this one to Seer, just because he can get a little bit more information faster and easier than Bloodhound can. So for that, Seer gets the point for the passive round. Alright everybody, next we're going to be getting into the tactical, starting again with Seer is his micro drones. Now this is the thing about Seer that I believe really makes him broken. A lot of people may disagree with me, but it's just my opinion. The situations that I've been in, me using Seer for the past week he's been out, his tactical, his Q is pretty insane. So his tactical is a cylinder cone that's long. I think it reaches about 75 meters, and if you hit your enemies with it, they are revealed for 8 seconds. But not only are they revealed for 8 seconds, you're able to see the enemy's health bars, you're able to stop them from healing, able to stop them from rezzing, ability block them for about a second or maybe 2, and it also does 10 damage. So with the click of a button, Seer is able to do all of those things. It has a cooldown of 30 seconds, and it is easily seen. It's a pretty big ability that you can see from a mile away. The thing about this Q is that it really works well in conjunction with his passive and with the ultimate. We'll get into the ultimate part later, but with his passive, if you ADS, because the Q is so wide, it's a very round radius, you Q, you know where the enemies are. You passive, you know where the enemies are, and then you Q to then do the reveal and get more information. So on top of the amount of information you have with your heartbeat, you can then use that with your Q to get even more information with how much health they have, how many people are in that vicinity that you are, where exactly that they are. So it's a pretty big reveal, and it can do a lot of things. It can make or break certain fights if you guys make the right decisions with the interrupting the rezzing. You're able to know if you think somebody's hiding, you guys get the knock. You think somebody's hiding, Seer can heartbeat, and then you can predict if they're going to be rezzing or not. So you pop the Q, boom, res is done. The team can push, win that fight. It's a lot of information that he can get that I feel like may be a little bit too much information for how easy it is. But again, that's just my opinion. It's a pretty crazy ability. But it also can be missed. Sometimes you can whiff it just by a little bit. It is avoidable at half the time, but if you're accurate and you know the situation, you play your cards right, most of the time you're not going to miss your tactical. Now on to Bloodhound's tactical, which is Eye of the Allfather. Eye of the Allfather is a 125-degree cone scan that also reaches up to 75 meters, but it only reveals you for 3 seconds as opposed to 8 like Seer's. It is also extremely visible like Seer's. It's a big orange scan. You can see that from a mile away. You can see Seer's scan just as much. So they're both equal in terms of the visibility and the range as which it can be used. It has a 25-second cooldown, but if you're using Bloodhound's ultimate, it goes down to 8-second cooldown, which is pretty fast. That's when that ability gets really insane. Not only does the Eye of the Allfather scan and reveal all these things, it also reveals more clues that you may not have seen to begin with. This is when the passive and the Q really come hand in hand together, because there's been plenty of times where I scan an area, don't see any enemies, but I'm able to see the clues that I didn't know were there. So that's a lot of other information that they are able to see. And the Eye of the Allfather scan is way easier to hit. It may not last as long, but it is way easier to hit. As long as something's within your range on your screen, for the most part, you're going to be able to scan it. You're going to be able to track whatever's there. Now, as much as I love Bloodhound's tactical, it gives you a lot of information, and it can give you a lot of information very quickly. It's something about Seer's that, because he can do more than just give you information, that's why, again, I have to give Seer a point in the tactical category. These are all very close, by the way. It's not a landslide in my opinion. Bloodhound is still a very good legend to me, but right now, at the moment, before Seer gets nerfed next week, Seer is the stronger recon legend in my opinion. Moving on to the last category, which is the ultimate, starting with Seer's huge micro drone dome. Seer's dome lasts about 30 seconds and it has a 70-meter diameter. It also reveals enemies only when they are running or shooting. It also leads really good into a queue if you can see those enemies that are revealed. The thing about Seer's ultimate is that it is really good in certain situations, but there's been plenty of times that there's teams that I fight that I get no information whatsoever, because they know how to counter it. They know not to shoot, they know not to sprint, they know how to move quietly to be able to then counter us. So his ultimate sounds really good on paper, but if you really think about it that way, it's not too insane, honestly. But then you think about the other abilities that he has. He can use his heartbeat to still detect you and then lead that into the queue, and then they're revealed. And at that point, some enemies start to panic and then they start to run around. So all of his abilities really come together in different ways. You can use his passive to pull off anything. You use his passive to start an alt fight. You can use his passive to Q. You can use his ultimate to Q, his ultimate to passive. You can use all these different things in Seer's kit that allow him to get the most information that he possibly can and really wreak havoc with all that information. Moving on now to Bloodhound's ultimate, which is Beast of the Hunt. Beast of the Hunt lasts 30 seconds and it also gives you a 30% speed buff. And it also reveals all of the clues that you're not able to see at that moment. It reveals things that are there now, things 30 seconds ago, things 80 seconds ago. It reveals everything that you can see on your screen for the entire duration of the ultimate. It paints all of the enemies red and turns the entire game gray, so it really highlights those enemies. And when you knock enemies, it adds 5 seconds to your ultimate timer. So if you have a 30-second timer, 25 seconds pass, you knock somebody, boom, back to 30, and it keeps going up until there's nobody to knock anymore. And like I said earlier with their tactical, it also reduces the cooldown of that. So instead of the 25 seconds, it's down to, I believe, 8, like I said earlier. I really enjoy Bloodhound's ultimate. It doesn't give me as much information as it would to the entire team like Seer's, but Bloodhound's ultimate, in my opinion, is just way better because he can use the tactical more often than Seer can. Seer's tactical is 30 seconds no matter what. With the ultimate of Beast of the Hunt, you can have it every 8 seconds, and then you can make your ultimate last longer, and you can get all this information. You're able to scan way more often than you normally would. So it's a really good ultimate, and you can just relay that information onto your teammates. Bloodhound's ultimate cannot be countered like Seer's. Seer's can be countered just by not moving. As an ultimate alone, Seer's can be countered. Bloodhound's can't. Just for the sake of having an ultimate alone and what it can do, I would put Bloodhound for this round. I think Bloodhound's ultimate is better. It can do more things for you than Seer's ultimate can. Even though Seer's kit can make his ultimate better, I feel like Bloodhound doesn't have to rely on the rest of his kit for their ultimate to be good. So definitely Bloodhound gets the ultimate round. Well, there you guys have it, everybody. That is going to be it for part 1 of Seer versus Bloodhound. Seer is going to get some changes next week, so that's when we will do our part 2 once we get used to those changes and see maybe if Bloodhound can get more points on his side than Seer's. Seer is the victor this time around, sadly, even though I prefer Bloodhound more as a champion. I think Seer just gets more information a little bit faster and a little bit easier than Bloodhound may. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Do you think Bloodhound is actually the better recon? Let me know down in the comments below. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you have not already. With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you once again. I'll see you all in the next one.